All right, we're here today with Dave and Erik from MØØTRIK. How you guys doing?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, thanks.
Okay.
You guys want to introduce yourselves so people can match a voice with the speaker, I guess?
Sure. I'm Erik, and I play bass and I sing in MØØTRIK.
I'm Dave, and I play keyboards in MØØTRIK.
I noticed on the info sheet, it's a lot more than just that as to your credits. You have a long string of keyboards and synths.
Yeah, but I think that was kind of the point behind this particular record. Let's put everything down.
Nice.
And I don't know, but wouldn't you say that's the truth? You have a long string of devices following your name, too, Erik.
I do. Yeah, I think we were kind of like, let's go maximum. Like, let's make a double LP. Let's go crazy with the album art. And I don't know. It felt like the right thing to go big for some reason.
Is this a double LP?
It is.
Oh, excellent! I'm listening to the MP3s. It's
Yeah. Yeah, how it shakes out, it's kind of funky, the timing from LP to LP. We can definitely bill it as a hi-fi experience because one of the sides is
12 minutes or
12
so?
minutes, so they can really crank the levels. I haven't heard a test pressing yet, but I think it's going to sound cool.
Well, that's right. It's not out till October, right?
Yeah.
But the first single's coming out this week.
Is that true?
That's probably true.
Probably. I know I think a video. Yeah, there's a video going to drop. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Things are happening faster than I'm aware of. But yes, to all of that.
Within the long string of credits, Dave, you're listed as playing a Gibson 335, which is my dream guitar.
No, that's me. That's me.
Sorry, Erik.
Yeah, that's Erik. Yeah.
That's a different Dave.
Yeah. I mean, it was used pretty sparingly. I used it to double a vocal line at one point on a song, and that's it. That's its appearance. So it's kind of an overpriced entity to make that happen. But yeah, no, that's the deal. That's what I think a lot of these long lists of instruments come from. It's like that's used in one song kind of thing, but going with the maximalist kind of approach for Fender, Stratocaster, electric guitar, like everything's it's kind of when it was kind of novel to have electric instruments on albums, I think. So it harkens back to that a little bit where, we need to let people know that we're playing these kind of new instruments. So kind of digging that idea, running with it a little bit.
What color?
What color?
What's that?
What color's the 335?
Hold on, I'll get it out. It's red. Yeah.
Now, this is a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's a podcast. That's why I'm doing this, just to create an awkward moment. But listen.
I meant, this is a podcast. We're taking it a notch up.
All right.
Oh, look at that.
So it's a reissue. But it's a 1980s reissue. So the dot inlay reissue, and they have a reputation for having really nice pickups, and I confirm that. It sounds really good. But I think for the album, I just recorded it acoustically.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't even use the good sounding pickups. So.
Wow.
Yeah, there she is.
Sorry, Dave, I cut you off when I asked about the color.
Oh no, I can't even remember where we were at. Please continue.
So my first question is always, do you remember when you first fell in love with music?
It just kind of happened. I do remember listening to Beatles 65 at my cousin's house and realizing that Day Tripper was a cool song. And that's kind of how it started for me. That's one of my earliest memories of just genuinely enjoying music and going, this is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Beatles too for that. My parents had a well-worn copy of Sgt. Pepper's, And I think that's probably the first record I fell in love with. Just as a record, so it's fun. Put it on and look at the weird album art and all that. And my brother and I would throw it on 45 and pretend we were the Chipmunks singers and like lip sync to it. So maybe kind of a superficial love for music there, but I don't know. I thought that was cool. And then later on, I'd say junior high, something like that. Whenever I'd drive around with my dad, for some reason, it was like him taking me home from something, or he would put on the local jazz station, KMHD. And I was like, it kind of blew my mind, I guess. Like, what is this happening? What, like, I'm getting these feelings, these special feelings about music, you know? Yeah. And there was some hook there too. For some reason, that pops in my mind.
Do you remember what kind of jazz, like who it might have been?
Oh, smooth jazz, generally, like real, you know, like Kenny G, that kind of stuff really spoke to me. No, it was like, no, real, like straight ahead trio mellow jazz. I don't remember the artists, you know. I mean, I'm a lifelong jazz lover at this point, but I don't remember who it was.
Straight jazz, just straight jazz.
Straight ahead, clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what got me. Just that mood. And like, this is different than what I'm hearing on the radio otherwise, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Other possibilities.
Did they call it smooth jazz at the time?
I don't know.
That seems to be. I have memories of billboards that say smooth jazz. Kenny G is usually there. I mean, that's memory of what, probably 80s.
Yeah,
definitely 80s.
I really like the turn this discussion's taking.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess so do I. I'm just gonna let that go. Not gonna go there. No.
I was playing some Archie Shep. You a fan of Archie
Yeah.
Shep?
Yeah.
My little nephew's name is Shep, and he came in. He was visiting the other day, and he came in. And I had one of the '70s albums on, you know, the real out there sort of stuff. And I was just like, "Hey, Shep, this guy's name is Shep too." And Shep just went, "This music is crazy." And I was like,
Totally.
You're right. I can't argue with you, but it was awesome.
Yeah, I've got a 10-year-old that he likes jazz, but Alice Coltrane came on and is like, this is too disorganized. Like it was one of those pretty out there ones off of what's the album where it's like this beautiful orange cover. And it's just like
into
the name that I can never remember. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So he was like, this is just too disorganized. I don't get it. And then another tune came on after that was more straight ahead. And he's like, okay, so he's having the same experience I did. Whoa.
Nice. So tell me about getting into or hearing Krautrock for the first time. You remember that?
Now that I have a very specific memory of.
Oh boy.
Excellent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Buckle up.
Wow. There's it kind of happened with Kraftwerk, and they had an album called at that time Autobahn, and I was actually, a friend of mine owned a record store, and I knew what Krautrock was, but I never had really kind of engaged with it in this fashion. And that means doing some LSD. And
Wait, how old are you here, Dave?
15.
Okay.
And I had a buddy that owned a record store.
That's cool.
So it was one of those transcendent experiences. And that was when the love of Comet Melody 2 happened. And that's the second side of the Autobahn album. And then from that point on, the problem is Krautrock entered in even before that in various ways, because it was on the radio on the underground stations, or the apparently underground stations of FM radio in the early 70s in the Bay Area. So stations like KOME, KSAN, KSJO had whoever was programming the stations had huge ears, so there was a breadth of progressive rock of all kinds. And Krautrock was this one thing that kept coming up. And by the time I was at a point when I could identify it, and that would mean actually being in a store where you can start connecting, oh, that album is this. And my friend's store, they had specialized in imports. So there was lots of Kraut, and of course the English progressive rock and the Italian stuff that was all coming through at the same time. But Krautrock just kind of exploded for me in I became a huge fan of Tangerine Dream, and started wanting to play music like them, and realizing that nobody can be like Tangerine Dream. You might as well just kind of try to do it yourself. And yeah, that's where that started for me. There's my big Krautrock entry into Krautrock.
Excellent.
I'm way more shallow. I really liked the Sprockets theme song, which was Electric Cafe or something like that. Is that what it was? Electric Cafe. Yeah. I was really into like Depeche Mode and that kind of stuff. So I think that was like my entry a little bit, this electronic based music. And then
I just put together the German Sprockets thing. So
yeah,
I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Did you know the song I'm talking about? Right.
It's like vaguely.
It's all this kind of weird muffled sound. It's so weird. And then there's Mike Myers dancing to it.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I loved this. I was like, this song's amazing. What is this? You know, it's transcending the humor. So I figured that out. And then, but that was back in like high school. And I kind of like, I've always loved electronic leaning music in addition to lots of other things. But this kind of repetitive thing, really, I've always loved
Teutonic and repetitive,
like Philip Glass and Steve Reich and like that kind of stuff. I love, and I feel like I was into that kind of before, like MØØTRIK reintroduced me to Krautrock, I would say, or like definitely has furthered my knowledge of it. Like I was pretty ignorant of the scene going in to MØØTRIK. I know I loved some Kraftwerk stuff. I'd heard a little Neu. And that was kind of it. I hadn't really heard Can or anything like that. And oh wait, what was that? Where was I going with something else? God damn it, Dave! You told me to eat the thing, and then
it would just help make you more relaxed.
Yeah, and I lose my train of thought. There it is.
Well, it's it's fine. I've forgotten too.
Yeah.
I never knew.
Yeah, there it is. But yeah, I think just coming into it kind of late. I came into the game a little late with the Krautrock, but when it hit, I kind of know where I was going. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Like we were talking about this the other day. Like my first real love of music was blues, and that was like the first music like I felt like I kind of found. And like, you know, it's not the jazz my dad's listening to on the radio. It's like, what's this crazy raw? I was really gravitated towards like John Lee Hooker and like the real sparse kind of stuff, repetitive sparse. And when I heard that, it just kind of killed me. And so I went deep on that. And really this discovering Krautrock has been, I feel like a stronger experience than that, speaking even more to me. Maybe my European roots, I don't know. But that's really been this big rediscovery and kind of like just going down a rabbit hole over the last 10 years and loving the ride for that.
Now, yeah. I have to admit, would you say that you like all of the Krautrock that I like?
No.
Yeah, no. That's kind of what I thought. Yeah.
No, so Krautrock's such a broad expanse. Yeah. It's like saying rock, you know, really, or like psychedelic rock, and Dave really leans towards the ornate. He gets into circus music, circus prog that I just
in
have
other words, Yeah, there's other types of German prog, and what he calls circus prog is anything with an organ where somebody's going
Yeah.
playing scales, basically.
Whereas my love is the real minimal, like the minimal noise stuff, the minimal Kraftwerk stuff. When Can just like goes, for a long time on one groove, or Electric Miles Davis, like that same vein, right? Like this
Right.
kind of direction, like you're going down a road. It's so evocative.
And I enjoy that too. And I think that's kind of every one of us in Motrik, it kind of is approaching us from a similar but same. I mean,
Similar but
different,
same.
but sim. But what I'm trying to say is we all love Kraut, but I think we all love it. We've kind of embraced it all differently,
Yeah.
and yes, I love the Can stuff, absolutely, without a doubt. But I also love the ornate Eloy-esque or the precision of the Kraftwerks. But you hear that in Can too. I mean, and then there's something that just comes out of that whole scene that, despite whatever subgenre you might have fallen into, the Jane kind of hard rock, psychedelic Pink Floyd covers, everybody had a certain aesthetic that prevailed throughout the German or the Krautrock scene. Although what we normally consider Krautrock is pretty limited, but I believe me, there's just so much more there.
Yeah.
What's your take on Krautrock, Og?
I love it.
Like, where do you?
Noi,
What's your jam with it?
probably Noi is my
Noi,
favorite. Noi
yeah.
and Can, like those, they've been putting out those live Can stuff.
Oh,
It's
stuff's so
Yeah.
good.
That's
Yeah,
crazy, huh?
phenomenal.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That they're able to do that, and like I think I heard one mistake towards the end during like a guitar thing, like Ermin
How do you
Schmidt.
know that was the only right note and all the rest was a mistake?
You see what I have to deal with, like every day.
I,
Yeah, but it's just incredible. Like I think I'd say 98% of that thing is improvised that they're doing. Like there's these touch points where maybe they'll hint at a melody.
mhm.
It's so amazing that they could do that and it works. I don't know. It blew me away. It made me see the band in a whole new light.
Yeah. I remember just seeing it came out and like I wasn't paying attention that much, and then I put it on, and then the next hour was just spent focused on that. It was like, this is
Nice.
incredible. But then I went down a big La
Yeah.
What do you
Dusseldorf
think
rabbit hole.
about the 70? I was gonna say, what do you think about the 1977, 78 versions of Can, the disco era?
Oh yeah.
See, even they had their mutations over time, and the bass player stopped playing bass for a while and just started twisting knobs on old radios, and
Apparently, shortly after he started wearing white gloves when he was playing, like he kind of like really started doing his own thing.
Wow. I didn't
Trippy
know that.
dude. Yeah.
And you mentioned Electric Miles. That is just some of my favorite music. Tribute to Jack Johnson.
Oh my God.
First time I heard that, I was like, this is what I want music to sound like.
Hell yeah.
I just finished. This guy Colin Harper wrote a book called "Bathed in Lightning" all about John McLaughlin. And I thought it was just going to be about like Bitches Brew through Mahavishnu, but it's really just starts the beginning of the '60s and it takes in like all his session work and like all the lives of the other session players. Like you get incredible amount of detail on Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones and all the people who were like in Pentangle and like all the Ginger Baker. It was full of detail. So like it took me a couple of years to read this book because there were all these albums he's talking about. It's like, oh, I got to hear this, and then you go down another rabbit hole. But yeah, then when I got to the Bitches Brew tribute to Jack Johnson stuff, I was like, oh yeah, this is amazing.
Oh, cool. I have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really good stuff.
Yeah.
So when did you decide that music was what you wanted to do with your life?
Are you going to go first or are you going to go, Dave?
I mean, I don't. There's a point where, Was it when I think it's when I fused, believe it or not, this is going to sound nuts, but I did buy a guitar to punish my father because he was a keyboard player and he had very strict rules about how I had to play. And there was a huge amount of rejection in me. I couldn't do it. And it actually took to the early 80s, marrying my Apple II, via a parallel I/O card and a Pia modular synthesizer, where I started realizing I can do music with the computer and fuck the keyboard. But the reality was, his dad ultimately was right. And that's kind of all started to happen, because when you get tired of using the computer, you want to just play the notes you hear in your head, or experiment with new ones, and the keyboard became necessary. So if you were talking time, early 80s definitely was my time when I decided that it was becoming more than just a hobby. Erik?
I mean, like right now as it stands, music isn't my whole life. And I, like professionally, it certainly isn't. I wish it was. I'm edging. There we go. Good term. But I'm getting closer into that feeling of being at least a professional in some capacity. Like I do composition and stuff for work as well.
Cool.
But so I've always had this dream, I feel, to be kind of like in a thing that's important. I don't, like from an early age, like wanting to put something out there that people are paying attention to. I don't, and I think so I got into filmmaking for a while. I wanted to like make media, I guess, and I still do. But I think the band idea, or wanting to like do it as a band, and have that kind of excitement and that immediacy of playing live and all that. Like I got hooked on that in college, and I was like, man, this would be amazing, like to be able to do this full time. But that just hasn't how it's shaken out. And so I think, all of us in MØØTRIK we've got day jobs, and but we take this, we don't take ourselves too seriously, but I'd say we take the music seriously, like making something we're all really proud of, and with the hopes of it becoming our lives. I mean, I feel, even though professionally I'm not doing music full time, I'd say it's like Dave's saying, certainly not a hobby. Like it is part of me, and it's like breathing, right? Like I start getting anxious and depressed if we can't practice together. Like there were some dark times during COVID, right, where we just couldn't get together and play, and that, like, I was like, wow, I can make my own music and I can do, but I need this interaction. It's important to me.
Yeah, I totally missed it. Well, obviously because of COVID, but I think at this point, we've been doing this 10 years. I'm a little bit further along in life than the other guys, so I might actually be the closest in my entire life to saying, oh, music is what I do 45% of the time. Or think about. I can devote, whether it's repairing instruments or playing music, either with a band or just twiddling my knobs for my own amusement. Yeah, it's been a slow evolution, but I definitely take it seriously and have taken it seriously and thought of myself as at least as close as, I hate to use the word professional, but just simply to use the word, I am a musician.
Yeah.
It started probably happening in the 90s.
Is that when you wake up every morning, Dave?
I am! No, it's...
Look in the mirror, flush the toilet from like the night before, and then I am a musician.
Oh, that would be more like...
You get husky.
Oh, shit! fuck, what did I do last night?
Right.
God, I'm a fucking musician.
There it is.
Yeah. That's more typical. Yeah.
You mentioned COVID. I noticed that you guys put out Artificial Head like pretty much like May, like pretty much right after the pandemic started. Was that fuck with a lot of your plans, I guess?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a missing album at this point.
Oh.
Yeah, because we called it an EP. I mean, an EP, which I think was a mistake because it's not. It's pretty long. It's an album, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So if you're on Spotify, it's like EP. Okay.
I kind of am okay with that because I like a good long EP. If I was a guy that was somebody consuming records, it wouldn't bother me. The LP EP thing doesn't hit me.
Okay.
Doesn't hurt me.
That's just me. But yeah, we weren't able to. We played one show. We'd played a couple because those songs had been stewing around for a while, and the album, we were done with it like when in the fall preceding that. Dave, is that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So we'd been sitting with that music a while and playing it out. So I felt like we kind of gave the music its due live, but we weren't able to give the album its due. You know.
Yeah.
It would have been fun to play that year at Treefort. I was psyched to play that music off of that record, which some of it was actually on this record. So it would have been a nice hybrid.
And
go ahead.
I was going to ask about how this record began and got made.
Yeah, I feel like it was a continuation kind of Artificial Head. Like, oh shit, we can't play out. But we have this really amazing space we play in. It's a comic book like company's kind of headquarters. So that makes it fun, but it's large enough where we like early on in the pandemic, it was like mask up and be 6 feet apart, and that's okay. So we were like, I think we've had the new music kind of, we were passing around each other. We all have our own little studio setups, except for Lee, the drummer. He doesn't have anything. But
he has a house and a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And lots of friends.
And that's something for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so we had these ideas. We were passing back and forth, adding to them, which we'd never done before. It's always kind of jamming it out together. Someone would bring a riff in and we kind of work it out that way. So this was a little more produced going into it. And we're like, well, I think we can do this. Like, let's meet up in the studio and see if we're comfortable doing it. Can we stay far enough apart? And
there was kind of a dip in COVID in August.
Right.
Gave us a window.
We had a window, yeah. And we had a window. Our really good friend and awesome engineer, producer, Jonah Nold. He had a window of like a month to help us, something like that, and we did it. Yeah. We were able to all be in a room and knock out songs, and it felt great. Yeah,
except Jonah, who stuck in his little room. So it actually, it logistically worked fine.
We were safe. I felt like we were being responsible and able to like play together and make music. So that was definitely a bright point for sure.
And also, it was a positive airflow facility. So air was constantly being pushed in and pushed out to keep the equipment cool. Because despite the fact it was a comic book company, for a couple of years we ran it as a studio, a for-profit studio. And so it had all of the equipment and all of the cooling necessary beyond that. And that was just added as a plus. I really, really liked the idea that we just throw open a door and tons of fresh air be pumped in and pushed out. And
great airflow, just wonderful.
Just great airflow. I'm sorry, I don't know why I went off on that tangent.
Before that, the space was La Luna in Pine Street Theater.
Mm-hmm. Were you around to see shows in Portland then? When it was operating? Yeah.
Yeah. I saw I saw Everclear there.
Oh my God! Okay.
And I saw it was such a cool venue. Like 808 State came through, and like Meat Beat Manifesto comes through. That's where you go to see them.
Wow!
So it's like these kind of cool acts that high school kids would feel like. I grew up outside of Portland, And so it was like a big deal to go into the city and go to La Luna and see a show. And then here we are years later playing in that space. Like when Nirvana would come through, like they played there, didn't they?
They
like,
played there? Oh, God. Everybody played there.
Yeah.
It used to be a place for me. I didn't see so many of those bands. I did see a few, but to me, that was the place where I would go see the prog rock bands. At that time in the 90s, that seemed to be for a long period of time. There was Ozra Tentacles would play there. Just that was the place. This in between. You weren't King Crimson, but you were somebody else. It was always a great show, and the venue continually evolved. But I like the fact that our control room is where the front of house board was. That's just where it was. It's at the end, because it was also at a time where I owned one of the first DAT machines in Portland, and I would get jobs occasionally where it would be like they just want to rent the machine to record a live show that's happening there. And so a couple of times I recorded shows right from that very position at various times in the 90s. So it's like be going home.
Whoa.
In a very strange way with heroin. No heroin.
No heroin. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the takeaway I feel from this chat is no heroin.
Yeah, none at all.
We're
a clean band.
We are a clean band. We're clean folks. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that, to get back to your original question about the recording of it, I think that after we established, we recorded all these basic tracks, and much of them we had played either live before or were in, how shall I say, we were still under development, and that's the thing. It maybe would have happened after Artificial Head if there was no COVID. We would have just naturally fleshed those songs out. So after the basic tracks were recorded, everybody went and started overdubbing, and Jonah kind of acted as the filter for all of it. Actually, there was a very somewhat not rigid, but there was a process that stuff would flow through that would make this happen. Because if you could imagine each one of us having our own place to add stuff, what kind of rambunctious tracks we would get.
But so I got to be designated like the filter, the last stop before sending it to Jonah, who was mixing.
Yes.
And so it was kind of, we had to develop this because it got people to be adding all kinds of.
Done this before.
Yeah.
Every other time we've made music all in the same room. But there's advantages and disadvantages to that. And I'd like to think that the album, there's definitely advantages, and this album shows those advantages. And the fact that we just played a show last night and pulled it off. At least, 4 new tracks were played last night?
Yeah.
Five, yeah.
No,
It proves that, so whatever we did, the model works. We can do, we don't want COVID to last, but the model works. The process works.
Settle down, Dave.
I love process.
How'd the show go?
It went well, I thought. I don't know. For myself, I was nervous going into it. It was our first show since like a year and a half ago, right? Year and a half? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really funny. It was a different venue, but like the last show that we played, it was the last live show I had like attended for the year and a half. And I feel like all the people that came, it was their last show that they had attended, or like most of those folks. Yeah. So it was really like this cool kind of like reunion, like class of COVID, like, hey, like that was special. And we got through the new stuff with good energy. Yeah. I'm feeling good. I'm apprehensive to the future of being able to play it out, but I know that we can now. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think the mental hurdle Can we still do it? We did that.
Yeah, it was like our
Mission
comeback show.
accomplished. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
kind of a comeback show.
it
'Cause
was.
I actually was going through a great deal of, can I still do this? Like, do I want to do it? There was all kinds of apprehension.
The time for the casinos,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the question.
But now we did it.
Excellent. And are there more on the horizon?
Yep.
Yeah. So the next one is Tree Fort, which isn't until end of September. So we got a little gap as folks' schedules are getting ironed out. But that's going to be really fun. That's in Boise, really awesome music festival. Oh. And that got pushed back. Like we were going to play that when Artificial Head came out. Like that's Artificial Head came out, and then we were going to go play Tree Fort and take over the world. And that didn't happen, and they pushed it back. They had to push it back twice, so it ended up a year and a half later. And so that's where we're at now. We're gonna go play Tree Fort. We're playing 2 nights there, Friday and Saturday night in Boise. So I think that's like September 24th-ish, 25th-ish.
Yeah.
We're all stoked about that for sure. And then we're having our record release October 8th.
October 8th, yeah.
October at No Fun on Hawthorne, Portland, Oregon, USA. And that's going to be really fun. And then we were playing Polaris Hall with Federale on November
17th, I think.
17th.
Yeah.
And then we're really excited after that. I think we're going to try to line up another local show, but we're having our first dip into the southeast of the United States with a week-long tour.
Oh, nice.
So we're pulling dates together for that. Sounds like that's going really well. And then it's ending at this really cool thing called Homecoming, which the Drive-By Truckers put on in Athens, Georgia. And so we're playing Friday night there as kind of like the icing, the cherry on top of the Southeast Southern Pride Krautrock Revival Tour 2021 or 2022. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
2022 by that time.
So we've got I don't know, I feel really optimistic about the new stuff that we're playing and the ability to play it out as long as people stay healthy and smart, keep this thing rolling.
We played with masks, and I think most of the audience had masks on. I couldn't tell. As far as I was concerned, everybody had masks. I could see.
Except me.
Well, we actually did at practice. You tried various masks you could wear that wouldn't affect the vocals, like terribly, and well, you can't sing through a mask.
I'm thinking
Not really.
what about like the foam, the wind, the pop filter, the foam windscreen, like a mask made out of that? It'd be like really
interesting.
hot.
But you could put like a hat on.
Yeah, it's like it covers your whole head.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, and you poke some eye holes out.
Then you could sell those as merch.
I
Totally.
could see this.
Get your MØØTRIK mask.
Okay.
It'd be
Guess what
so
I'm doing in
itchy.
my basement.
It'd be so
just-
itchy.
So itchy.
Really
You just get a
itchy.
block of Sonex. You could carve it out of that and mock it up.
So clearly
right.
the rest of our afternoon's planned out.
Yeah.
Nice. So I thought we'd go into some of the new stuff. First song on the record and the first single is Silver Twin, which I'm guessing is a Hawkwind reference.
No.
Oh, all right.
No. I guess I should talk about our process a little bit, which especially for this album, as we were referring to before, with the kind of flipping the files around and overdubs and all that. So this one in particular, Cord Amato, guitar player, he wrote the song, like the riff, and then he passed that off, sent that around, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I added bass. So there's no melody at this point, no vocals, it's kind of this cool riff with the change, and Dave adds some stuff, and then like, I don't know, does this need lyrics? Does it need vocals?
I can't even think of it without it.
Yeah, right. But that's
Yeah.
kind of how in its nascent stages, that was the deal. And so I started playing around with melody a little bit. I'm just playing it over and over and over again, and just adding. I don't know if I was doing it on keys or whatever, maybe the 335, but adding like little licks in to see what would fit, right? And maybe doing like the David Byrne singing nonsense thing, to see what sticks. And so Silver Twin just kind of phonetically fit, like within the word structure. But part of me doesn't want to talk about what I think it means. It's not a Hawkwind reference, but I kind of want people to come up with their own. It's a little cheesy, maybe.
You can keep it mysterious. I mean, that makes sense.
What's your Silver Twin? Like, Dave, what's your Silver Twin?
I actually thought, since Cord started the song, it was a reference to his guitar amplifier. And that's where that was, and that riff kind of reflected that for me. So I know the lyrics don't bring that to mind, but the song title still does. It's like, oh, that's a guitar amp, a classic one. That's what came to my mind. I'm sorry, it won't happen again.
But what happens with these words, right? They kind of fit phonetically. I'll string them together. I'm like, okay, I can sing these. Like, I'm not too adept at the singing things. So I need the syllables to really work, because there's certain like sounds that I can't start reliably and be on pitch, but other ones I can. Like certain vowel sounds, I'm less reliable. So those kind of have to fit. So I get these words that kind of fit. And then when they start walking together, I might start looking for meaning in those. And like, okay, now this is going to inform my next word choice. And this story kind of assembles before me. And clearly it's not a very clear story, right? It's more associative or something. But there's definitely something in my mind when I'm singing it now.
That's super interesting about hitting certain syllables on pitch. When did you realize that about yourself?
Just playing in bands and listening back, or like when I'm practicing singing, like an open ah. That's one I try to avoid. Like it's just, and maybe I do it all the time. Like Dave definitely is like, you're sliding into these notes. So he's going to try to recreate it on the keyboard. I'm like, no, you play the notes straight, so it doesn't sound like I'm sliding in, please.
It took me a little bit to get used to that, but because it's not my name. I want to follow every pitch nuance, any inflection.
Make your circus music.
Make my circus music. Yeah. Simplify, Dave. Simplify.
It just reminded me of that thing like with can would work with the restrictions, which it seems if you're eliminating certain syllables to sing or sounds to sing, there's definitely, I
mean, that's kind of, it's funny because like, right, those are in the lyrics, right? Sound continuous. And to me, that's what it's all about, is the sound. And so that's been what I've been into, like, pretty much my whole life listening to music. Is like, what before I hear the words, like what does it sound like? What does it sound like when they're singing? And then maybe I'll get hooked on the lyrics. That's like a secondary thing for me.
That's one of the big reasons I love Guided by Voices. I mean, Robert Pollard's lyrics don't really make sense all the time.
Yeah,
they sure as hell sound cool.
Totally. Yeah, or maybe just a phrase sounds cool, right? And like so many pop hooks, that's their deal. Yeah. It's a cool phonetic, like it's an interesting pattern.
So next up is Particle Maze. Anything to say about this one?
Dave?
That's another one we've been playing a version of that. And it, again, just kind of, this is where I got to hand it to both Cord and Erik. The tracks that we were playing, recorded, were there, but those two guys, the two of them, kind of fleshed it all out. I mean, I had a lot of fun during, originally laying my tracks down, but then the overdubs on that particular one, I thought were actually quite fun because I was playing a lot with this device here and chopping up.
Describe that, Dave. What's that device
Oh,
there?
that device.
In 15 words or less.
In 15 words. It's just a modular synthesizer. It's one that I've been building since 1995. It's mostly all hand built.
Oh, that's huge now that you've
and it's missing a large portion of it. Because of the pandemic, we closed the studio and I had to move it here. And so this is just a small room in the house. But I have enough that's a functional unit. But the point is that in that particular song, there was these chopped up vocal bits from a friend of mine makes a module known as the E970 or 950. And it's not just speak and spell. He licensed all of the sounds from Motorola, but also various other products, alarm clocks, anything that had vocals in it. And now it can act as an oscillator. And I just grew fascinated with it over COVID. And there are bits of that in that mid section, which were really fun for me to make. So I don't, like I said, the vocals and the lyrics are all Erik's. I mean, that kind of, like I said, the guys hung the meat. Where I feel like on this song, mostly Lee and I just kind of threw down our grids and had fun within those places. But Erik, speak to the melody, the important things that people like. And that was another song where I actually have to double your vocals on the keyboard.
True.
Yeah, that is exactly one. So when we play live, yeah.
This song, like my perspective on being part of creating it was it's very similar to Silver Twin in terms of process. You know, Cord made the basics. I don't know. I think he may have had a bass line that I replaced, or there was no bass line, but I came up with the bass line, which I was like, oh, whoa, there's more. This is a little more you know, like I'm feeling that this song has a little more space in it. And then that it was again the phonetic and going out to the ocean in a boat, which I love to do, and so that's definitely part of what the song is about. But I want to be purposely vague about what I think it's really about. But that was the process, right? Like I kind of came up with this melody thing, and then the words kind of fit it. I think it was melody before words, and then you know, Particle Maze. Like, who doesn't want to sing that? That's just fun to sing, right? Like those words sound cool together. Okay, there's a lyric. Like just pretty dumb, you know. You can't go too deep into this stuff, but then it kind of becomes its own thing, and that's when it's fun to kind of go deep into it. Circular, but I think to go to what Dave was saying though, like just kind of, I don't think you were discounting what you did, Dave, but to say,
I'm not discounting it. It was, you guys wrote the melody. It wasn't there before.
Right. Yeah. So I created that part, but what Dave, and I'll say like in particular Lee, but like Dave on this song, you added your parts, and that made it that much more a MØTRIK song, right?
Right.
And then the crazy thing is Lee comes in and we're like, yeah, okay, we had demo live drums. Like Cord, he's a good drummer, so he would, for his demos, he's playing live drums on a lot of. So we have kind of this cool sound happening, but then Lee comes in, and then it's just like, holy shit! Now it's a MØTRIK song. Like whenever he records, right? Don't you think, Dave? I mean, that
absolutely,
so crazy. Like we all add our bits, right? But what cements it as a MØTRIK song proper is like, oof, there's Lee Ritter playing the drums. So cool. So that happened, you know, on each of these tracks, but that's kind of the Particle Maze story, the creation story. but it's fun to play live. Like I feel like we get to pretend we're Can a little bit when we're playing it.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Nice.
For sure.
Yeah, it's probably the most. I hate to say we aped something.
Yeah.
But I definitely like the feeling of it. It makes me feel like I played something from my childhood.
Oh, we had working titles on these that were really explicit as to the influences, and so
Cantrick?
Yeah,
Was this
this is
nice.
Cantrick. So we have this habit in the band of appending trick to anything, you know.
Nice.
And so yeah.
So Streamline, that's a very cool riff. Very driving.
Yeah. I think that's one of my kind of riffs that I brought in.
Because you do that on the bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the change towards the end, and that one I kind of fleshed out. That one follows a little bit of the older model. This of how we would, like, I think I brought that riff in and we jammed on it for a while, kind of thing. So before COVID, maybe I think we were playing this out along with the artificial head stuff, and we just didn't feel like it fit on that album. So so this one's actually a little older, but it was kind of hearkening at this slightly different trajectory I think we're on now. But yeah, so riff, and then that outro jam was a very conscientious attempt to cop Deer Hunter's ability to have these amazing sprawling outros with these repetitive loping kind of lines that just drive you into like hypnotic ecstasy, you know, like love it. So it was like my meager attempt to like try that out, you know. And so we worked that pretty hard. Like Cord had some ideas like how did they do that? Like, and so I think we got somewhere there and kind of made it our own at the same time.
Nice. And then up next is Space Elevator. I was going to say,
yeah,
along with what you just said, what I really like about your tunes is that they're both busy and hypnotic, if you know what I mean.
Huh.
Like it's sort of this one there's a faster pace, but it lulls you in, and then you get to that freak out bit later.
Yeah, and I think that's the repetitive for me. Like something can be fast, but if it's repetitive, then it doesn't seem busy to me, which is kind of going back to like the Philip Glass kind of sounds, you know, that kind of thing, where there's a lot going on, but something's elevating it above circus music, you know. Sorry about that, Dave.
Tangerine Dream, same
especially
thing.
1970s Italian circus music. But Space Elevator is also in the category of Streamline, in that we had played that out previously, and it's like this one of our epic long jammers that we love to play. And so that was
14 minutes.
Yeah.
That one started off though with that stupid little riff at the beginning.
Yeah.
That was just Cord and I playing together. I'm playing the vibes.
So cool.
And it's always been an attempt to get it back to that first time, at least as far as whenever I play it.
I think I went to the bathroom and came back, and you guys were doing that. Mm-hmm. And I got I got my phone out and like, do you keep doing it? That's so cool. Because that was just name dropping the minimalist composers here, but that was another Steve Reich. Like, I was really listening to a lot of him then, and that brought it to mind.
I was actually thinking about this the other day when a friend, because that was done on that Mellotron, and I wanted to use sounds that nobody uses on the Mellotron, that you never hear. You always hear the strings, you hear the choirs, you hear everything else, and getting that vibes, like who uses the vibes on the Mellotron? And that's when Cord and I were just playing around and came up with that interactive, interlocking thing. So that and the delay pedal. But,
you know who uses vibes on Mellotron?
Who?
Dave Fulton does.
I do now. Yeah. That's me.
Own it.
The vibe patch is mine.
I think Stabilize is actually my favorite. That riff is awesome, and then like the squelchiness underneath it is really cool.
Yeah.
And
cool.
Sort of blissed out single note guitar that comes in. Sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. That that might be my favorite too. I don't know. What's your favorite, Dave?
Well, since it's funny because Red Eye probably, maybe,
We've been
but
having a lot of fun playing Red Eye lately. Like that one
yeah,
kind of surprisingly to me. I thought it was going to be tough to pull off, and it's like been really fun.
and that's why I'm really looking forward to playing Yellow Moon,
Yeah.
because I have a similar kind of feeling about it now. Like we haven't played that one as a band, but now that Erik and I have worked out the bits, I've been rehearsing it, and it's just made itself much more. It's made itself much stronger. When I would have probably said Space Elevator, like when we first started, if you'd asked me that question when the album's out, it would have been, oh, Space Elevator, without a doubt. It's got that huge, neat jam thing. That's what I like. And of course I would have went there, but then, yeah, it's changing. It's changing. I don't know what's right anymore.
So stabilize, roping it back in,
Take it back.
taking it back. Stabilize. Oh, I think I'm roping it back in. We've had problems rehearsing that one. Not like problems, but we play it and we're like, we're kind of getting lost because these new songs, they're more kind of slowly evolving pieces with like slight shifts in them and layers added. But like, what's the right time for this layer to come in? And us to think about it as a band playing rather than like you're editing, like, okay, this feels good when I'm editing this piece together. So Stabilize was pretty heavily edited to like take that shape of it having a bit of an arc, because it was kind of a bit of a jam going into it, recording it. And I think we'd figured out some of the structures, but like to make it a little bit of a hook, that took a little bit of editing, I think. And that, well, so Dave went all deep on equipment. I got to give a shout out to what made this thing possible. I've been into randomness with composition lately, and I thought it'd be really cool if a keyboard could play back a sequence, but do it in a random way, right? Just basic need, nothing too fancy. There's not many synthesizers that do that, surprisingly. You can play back an arpeggio, like the arpeggiator can go back randomly. That's very common, but for a sequence to play back randomly, not that available. And so I was playing with that randomness because I'd found this feature in this stupid Roland VP03 that Dave bought it. This is a great thing Dave does. He'll buy equipment and it just makes him angry because it sucks for some reason. And he's just like, hey, just take this. Just take it. I don't want it anymore. Like, can I buy it from? No, I just don't want to see it. That's my bad Dave voice impression. And it's amazing. So like I have this synth that, it does kind of suck, but because it's a recreation of the old Roland vocoder synth, but it's like part of their boutique series. And they just kind of missed it on this one. It's just, the interface is weird. Doesn't sound amazing, but it has the random sequencing function. You have to dive into these weird combination of buttons to like hit it. And once you get there, random bliss. And so that's that thing of Stabilize, is that triggering its sound, plus it's triggering the Korg mini log doing that as well. So that was kind of the kernel for me, like, oh, that's cool. And then I just started playing around, like, what's a repeating phrase that can go with that kind of works. And so the bass line kind of came out of that, which is it's just me playing randomly those notes, is trying to be a random note generator myself. And then again, it's like the assembling of the words kind of thing. And Chord was feeling very Noi, I think, on that solo. Yeah. Like that was definitely a channel kind of moment. But I love how the drums sound on that song. Like when they kick in, like it works. Like that thing's a train going, which I love. Like you're like 13 minutes in, you're like, holy shit, like they are not stopping, for better, for worse. I love that. I love when songs do that.
Yeah. Up next is Red Eye, which you were mentioned before. This one does really remind me of Kraftwerk, Space Lab especially. And you mentioned it being fun. Like I read somewhere online that you describe your music as something like cosmic party music. I don't know if that was the exact phrase, but like this really seemed to fit.
Oh, there should be a German word for that. Cosmic part, like
Cosmic party music.
Yeah, Cosmic.
Cosmic, yeah.
German party. What's German for party? I gotta look that up.
It's probably something really hard to pronounce.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Party in German language. Okay, here we go. Oh, it's parte. Of course.
Oh, we should know that.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Where is the Parte?
Yeah, but I say that in English.
Right, but it's in German
Oh no,
too.
I say it in German.
Yeah.
Gummy rises again. Yeah, we'll always do parte. Yeah, so we do know that. Okay.
That could have been an extension of that album. This song, very easily would have fit right in. No, never mind.
Cosmic music parte cosmic music. I feel like there would be a more elegant and slightly longer word that the Germans would come up with to make that a thing.
I'll have to post this to social media later.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think? What's your silver twin? What's your red eye? What does that mean? What it really means is really lame. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Like, oh yeah, they're stoned, they got red eyes, or it's a red eye flight, or like it's like the twin suns setting off of planet Zeton. Like, nope. Sorry.
I again.
What's your red eye, Dave?
To me, it has to do with the moon. For some reason, it still comes back to I didn't really have the. I listened to the lyrics evolve over time, so I tried not to hang anything on it until it was complete. And by that time, Cord is also an amazing graphic artist guy, and kind of just came up with the concept. It kind of just worked beautifully with the music. So I come back to answer your question. Red Eye, to me, I still see the moon through my red eyes, and the moon is bright red. Like, I think of all the smoke we've had in Portland. That's what it kind of, if necessarily stony red eye, it was more had to do with the smoke and seeing the moon through the smoke. And then Yellow Moon fit into that perfectly too, but that's another song. So if you want to know where I went, there. And now I hang my meat on that, because that's,
I mean, that's
the final meaning.
Is that just a rap?
That's a rap.
I hang my meat on that.
Were we talking about units last night?
We were.
Yeah, units.
Yeah,
of,
Dave was talking about air
coolness.
conditioners, and he just like kept using the word unit, and like installing a large unit in a bedroom. I guess it was funny last night.
We were, yeah, it was outside of the show.
Post show, you got some adrenaline going.
Yeah.
The vodka Red Bull has not quite worn off.
Units of adrenaline.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. But yeah, Red Eye was, that was kind of a creation from my end, and sending it out, transmitting it out to the other band members to add their bits. So that was fun. And it kind of became, I think the working title of that one was, what was it? LCD. What's their name?
Phalacatric?
Yeah, Phalacazoid.
Phalacazoid. But you call it Phalacatric.
Yeah, LCD Phalacatric.
Yeah.
Was the working...
Was the working title, yeah.
Yeah, and so do you know Phalacazoid?
Don't.
Oh, they're amazing. They're South American. Is it Peruvian? I feel they're from Peru. But super droney, super crowdy, like really fun, really cool, kind of dark, but very, very minimal. Oh, check it out. Yeah, it's super cool.
What is it?
Phalacazoid. So A-K Falac, yeah, A
Wow.
after the K, Z-O-I-D, Falacozoid.
All right.
And I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure, but they're awesome. And so that was the working title. So they had that kind of, they do the thing where the bass hits on the offbeat, that dun, 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 as the beat's like, dun, 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 you know, that kind of thing. And so that I latched onto that. And then the LCD portion is kind of those quick synthesizer bits, you know, the repeating arpeggios. So yeah, but it was fun. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go on, because I'll take it.
Oh, I was just going to say it was fun to again, kind of have these influences and be very aware of them, like Particle Maze was, you know, the can trick. But then it kind of became a MØTRIK thing, like in a natural way. I think it works as a MØTRIK thing now, especially now that we've figured it out live, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Has there been a Neutrick or a Krautrock? Not yet.
I don't think we've done any working titles. I think it's almost so like intrinsic.
Yeah.
It'd be like calling something Trick.
Yeah.
Or Dave Trick. Oh, we've had
there
a Dave Trick.
There was a Dave Trick.
There was a Dave Trick. And there's been Erik Trick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's been Chord Trick. Chord Trick.
Chord Trick was on the record.
Chord Trick is Yellow Moon, I think. I'm pretty sure.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah. Because he came up with, that was pretty fleshed out as like the changes and the riffage. Yeah. I don't know. Do we segue into Yellow Moon?
Might as well.
Let's do it, yeah.
Are you interested in that, Aug? Is that okay?
I'm going to ask about it.
Okay. So Yellow Moon, yeah, so Chord the Architect, and then me adding the melody part, which is definitely a bit of a more ambitious melody than I'm used to singing or kind of coming up with. I definitely prefer the monotone, more rhythmic stuff, or that comes out, I guess. But this was fun. I don't know, it just made sense to have this more interesting kind of melody happen and get a little circusy with it as much as I do. And I don't know, and the lyrics were pretty I will give part of this one away. Yes, wildfires. Yes, moon through the smoke. And my wonderful wife, Jen, pointing the moon out to me and saying, "Isn't that amazing?" But then the song gets like weird and dark. But the impetus was, it's kind of that contrast of like, love of my life is like talking about the moon, but then it's through this smoky haze that's like, are we gonna all just die soon? You know, like there's tension there.
You know, I didn't quite go that dark with my interpretation of that. I actually thought of it as a very beautiful moon.
It was. That's the thing. Like during the fires, it's gorgeous, but it's weird.
But you see, that's the red eye. But to me, the yellow moon was like a potato moon. Again, I didn't think about it so negatively.
Wait. What's
it looks
like a yeah.
It looks like a potato.
You vouch for that, Aug? Is that?
There are times when, yeah, I mean.
Have you heard that saying though?
I haven't, no.
Okay, thank you. God.
You've never heard of a potato moon?
No.
They're all over Idaho. People, that's like the Idaho thing to say, man.
Okay.
And you're going to Boise.
Yeah.
Or right a factory right along the way.
But,
pick up some hash browns.
But Yellow Moon, that one, in terms of overdubs, that one got a little ornate for sure. Like now we need acoustic piano, like doubling the vocal. Like it got a little, got on the edge. I felt of like, okay, is this turning into, is like when I started adding all these layers of like that kind of stuff, is like, is this like more of me or is this MØTRIK, you know? So I think there's this line kind of crossing, like, no, I want it to be MØTRIK. And so don't add too much. Like, I think we're all very conscientious of like, I hate to say it, but like serving the song, like not like just making sure the thing works. And I think we all know that what makes the thing work is not too much. We're all doing our
Minimalism.
part.
Yeah.
Minimalism, but obviously we're not afraid of a wall of sound or something like that. But
True.
But that's kind of what makes us tick, I feel. And so there's these little forays into little ornamentation and stuff that it's like, there was some second guessing happening, but I'm really happy. Like, I think Jonah did an amazing job, like putting these things together once it had gone through the Erik funnel, giving him the tracks, and then he has his funnel, and he made it really cohesive. Props to Jonah.
He glued it together.
He did. And he helped produce the thing for sure. Like, he was making arrangement decisions, and it's a good job. Good job, Jonah.
And then the last track, Sonic Rug, very understated yet sort of triumphant feel. And this has that lovely
triumphant
wash of arpeggios. Is this the circus music?
No.
Oh yeah. Okay, you got a half hour?
Yeah. That was another one of Chord's ideas. There were two ideas, and there's also sonic rugs throughout the record.
Yes.
Little bits, and so this was the reprise of all of those. But both Chord and I presented our interpretations of what the ending should be. His was a little bit more upbeat and majestic, as you might say. And so it was chosen. And so I took his MIDI tracks, and then I ran them back through these and added a little bit more, and then handed it back to Jonah. And then the magic then happened where everybody else put their... I think Chord went back and added his plastic synthesizer, what the heck was that?
Korg.
A Korg
What is that thing?
mini something or other.
What's the big knob, the big selector knob.
The big knob, yeah. He might have put...
sound system has like 8 of them.
Yes.
Sorry.
But he went ahead and put some of that back. Again, that's another song there was a lot put on, but I think it needed it to sound as majestic as you might have heard.
So Dave's deal is darkness. He's the dark force of the band. And we love him for that, for sure. Like, I think we each bring our own perspective, right?
Yeah.
Lee's like the light. I don't know if I can
always positive, that guy.
I don't know if I can attribute like color spectrums or amounts of saturation to each of us, but generally speaking, Dave's the dark, Lee's the light. I don't know where Chord and I fall in, but so there's that cool tension. But what Dave will bring to the table, like if you're like, Dave, we need an ambient thing to end the album, it was like, it's amazing, and it's like this churning thing, but it's like, I don't want to hear that at the end. I'm going to be bummed out. But it's amazing, right? So like, what do you do with this thing? And so no, we had to go triumphant.
It worked. The triumphant thing
It
works.
works.
I mean, you can't fight it when it, again, what Erik to make back to Erik's point, in service to the album, it was the right thing to do. Because again, I will go down the dark hole and stay there and produce the most just look up my solo stuff, you'll figure it out. And because that's where it's a very comfortable place for me. And this song kind of was a revelation in a way, because doesn't have to be dark. It can be light. Thanks, Chord, for adding hope and light to my world and to the album.
Yeah, so I think the idea, like, this was definitely, we were thinking like a conscious decision. How do we make, this double album? Like, how do we like make this thing kind of a concept album, right? Like, we started to realize, okay, there's these themes through all these songs. There's connective tissue. Like, we can go all out and go concept-y. And so one thing I love on some records is when you hear this theme and then it's reprised at the end, or like even Mano Chao. What was their big album? But it had that little ding sound, like
I'm not familiar. Yeah. Sorry, buddy.
But and then that sound. So that, well, for those who haven't heard it, there's this little synthesizer kind of ping that you hear between songs, but then it appears in some songs. So it's just so cool because it really links these songs together. You're like, oh, there must be a tie between these things. And so, but it's a totally different kind of music. But I just love that it gels the album. It makes it feel maybe a little concept-y. I think it was a good decision. I think it was fun to like, I don't know, like make it feel like it's a thing, not a collection of songs. Like this is a thing, you know?
And to give the additional wraparound, Cord did the art. So that song, more when I saw the artwork, everything made sense to me.
Right.
It kind of, okay, yes, there we go. This is good. I like this. What else can I say, Eric? Stop looking so serious over Zoom.
You can you can say a lot more. We all know that.
Your solo stuff, is that just under your name?
Yeah, you can start there, or Defective AI. Defective AI is the,
So the big joke, I gotta tell the big joke.
Okay, do the big joke.
Yeah, so Defective AI, right? And AI is, A and then lowercase I. And Dave, what did you have? You had like a T-shirt or something, or
It was somebody made me a hoodie with an embroidered,
and it's kind of puffy, right?
Yeah,
it says Defective AI.
It's a very nice job.
Yeah, it looks good, but the puffiness of the material somewhat obscures the lettering. So you're like, what?
Absolutely.
So when you look at it, it looks like it says Detective Al, and we just thought that was the funniest. I mean, still, like, I'm kind of almost cracking up saying it. And so we just always call his band Detective Al. And it's just, and the best thing is the music. It does not sound like Detective Al. It sounds like Defective AI for sure. Yeah. It is not Detective Al's solo album.
No. And I don't know.
We will even call Dave Detective Al.
Nice.
If need be.
Because depending on what font it's in or where I might see it referenced, if they don't put the two, if they don't realize it's actually an abbreviation, it becomes less obvious. Defective Al, because that's the other one that people go to. So it might not have. I'm also not a master of marketing. So that might have been something a marketing person would have picked up on. That's too easily confused with something else.
Got to take that one to the think tank.
That's right. But, oh well, thank God I've got a filter.
Well, we should probably wrap up, but you guys got anything you want to add? I have one final question, but
can I add one thing, Eric? I was going to say, Cord has a project that's also we should mention since we mentioned mine. The slanted floors that Eric's going to be playing in. When is that? The 20th?
August 21st. When's this podcast going to pop up, do you think?
August 11th.
Perfect. All right, so August 21st, head on out to the Dundee Lodge Campout in beautiful Gaston, Oregon. And half of MØØN's going to be in a band called Slanted Floors. That's Cord's project. And they just dropped an album, I don't know, like 6 months ago, something like that. It's cool.
I actually, we all played on it.
Yeah, so of course it's cool,
Yeah.
So there's a plug.
Yeah,
That's a really fun festival. That's like, I think it's its third installment. It's really mellow. Like, I'm not a big festival person, and like attendance levels are just right. Like there's plenty of room and you just camp, and it's like
It's a micro festival.
Micro festival. And Rose City Band, I'm wearing their shirt. That's the Wooden Ships Moon Duo members, one of their projects. And so we're really excited to like be playing with them. Or Cord and I. Sorry, Dave, you're not involved. Sorry, buddy.
Whatever.
Yeah, he'll show up and we'll have fun together. But yeah, I don't think there's. I mean, I'd like to say thank you so much for having us and that kind of thing.
Oh,
you know?
thanks for coming on the show. It's been great chatting.
Oh, and one thing, yeah, we have to pump the album, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're very excited about it. I hope that came across in this, but it's actually releasing October 8th. I think vinyl will be ready by then. Well, it's double LP once again.
I thought that vinyl, the goal was to have it at Treefort, and that's the end of September.
That'd be amazing too.
I mean, I've been waiting for the test pressings, and Rob is obviously waiting for them as well. Jealous Butcher is the label. They're waiting for it as well.
There we go.
So,
got to pump the label. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Jealous Butcher. That's right.
Rob Jones. Yeah.
Rob Jones, ticking the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so go to Jealous Butcher. You can figure everything out there. Or go to our Bandcamp. We have a Bandcamp page. Oh, you know what you should do? You should follow our Instagram.
Yes, that's the easiest thing to do.
Do that because we don't have very many followers, and that helps my mood when we get a new follower. I say because I'm on it way too much, but we get it when we convert someone. It's a good feeling.
Is it just MØØTRIK on Instagram? At
MØØTRIK Band.
MØØTRIK Band. Yeah.
MØØTRIK Band. Yeah.
All right, so I was excited about this because I used to always end interviews with this question, and I kind of abandoned it for a while, but I thought it would be really appropriate for you guys, doing a bit of a 180 from MØØN. My standard last question used to be, if you had stolen a space shuttle, for whatever reasons you had for doing so, and we're going to fly it directly into the sun, what would you want to be listening to?
I'd say right now, not Dave's nasal breathing sounds.
Circus music, 1970 Italian circus music, probably out as well.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. I've got cop out answer, and then I've got the humoring you with the actual answer, with the music answer too. I've got two.
All right, let's hear them. You'll probably have enough time to listen to both.
Yeah. The music, it'd still be In a Silent Way, Miles Davis. I think that'd be the one. Yeah, gotta love it, and I always come back to it, and it always feels fresh and new. So that would take me to good places. My cop-out answer is I would want to just listen to the sound of like, what does it sound like when you're melting, going into the sun? I want like the screams and the I don't know, the burning. I want to hear the burning.
I've never thought of that before.
Yeah.
Wow. In a Silent Way, nice choice.
I can't beat it, but I can tell you the kind of music and what would work for me for something like that. The midsection of a song Firth of the Fifth, which is a 9-minute Genesis tune off of Selling England by the Pound. Yeah. It has this epic, but without end. I mean, you can just keep it. It just keeps building and building and building, and that's kind of what I would, and then releasing and then building up again. That's kind of what I would like, because flying into the sun, at what point would you really die? It's going to get hot, but how quickly? I just can't answer that.
That needs to be on a t-shirt. Flying into the sun.
It's going to get hot.
It's going to get hot. And then maybe on the back, but how quickly?
cool.
Yeah.
I suppose it depends on your velocity.
Yeah, obviously.
The coding of the space shuttle. What if you're doing this and you've got all those tiles?
Whether it's
Those heat resistant.
night or
I
day.
mean,
Like
well-
personally, if I was gonna fly into the sun, I'd do it at night. No problem.
No, it is funny that you mentioned the screaming. That is the first thing that went into my head as I was flying into the sun. Despite how pleasant it might be to die that way, it would be fast. I think it would be fast. I just don't think it's going to be that. If you remember that Star Trek episode where the guy flies his ship, the shuttlecraft, into the doomsday machine.
Yeah.
There's a couple of scenes of him doing this.
Right.
And that's kind of how I want to, imagine myself, even in a space shuttle. I've stolen it for the reasons that are going to help mankind. I'm not going to die in a real dignified listening to Genesis. I know it's going to be something like this. Something really, terrifying.
See, that's my position when I'm listening to Genesis. It's like the tense, the hands shaking, like, what's happening to me? I don't like it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm not going to
thanks, guys,
apologize for
coming on the
that.
Dave, you just talked over like his nice outro.
show. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Thank you again for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having us. We really appreciate it. And it was really nice meeting you.